Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here and those watching on TV. We'll start the evening with a public hearing.
All right, so we'll go ahead and go on the record for this public hearing at 7:00 p.m. at Hermann City Hall in the Board of Alderman Chambers. And so this is a hearing to consider the prohibition of new owner unoccupied guest houses in the R2 two-family and R3 multiple family residential zones. And we have a few exhibits. Exhibit 1, for the record, will be the proposed ordinance. And Exhibit 2 will be the notice of public hearing that was published in the paper. Exhibit 3 is the affidavit of publication confirming, again, publication in the paper. Exhibit 4 is the meeting minutes from the City of Hermann Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where this ordinance was approved and recommended to be passed by Planning and Zoning. And so just briefly, it's what has been discussed. It is, we've had a moratorium on what I tend to call short-term rentals during almost the entirety of 2024. And this will go ahead and just amend our code to say that those short-term rentals will be banned from here on out in the R2 and R3 zones. One thing that was mentioned at Planning and Zoning and that I went ahead and changed some language under Section 1 and Section 2 is that if somebody is operating under a conditional use permit and it comes up for renewal, it can still be renewed. We're not going to just deny it. And also, the prohibition would not apply to what I've called in here a successor in interest to any property. So I've got a short-term rental and I sell it to somebody else. That somebody else is going to be able to continue to use it for that unless 6 months go by where it's vacant or hasn't been used for such purpose. And so, and then I got to defining successor in interest, and that by itself took like 6 lines because it could be more than just a buyer. It could be somebody who inherits a property by will or a trustee of a trust, or somebody has it in their name and they form an LLC and deed the property to their LLC or their corporation. But any of those transferees would be able to continue to, excuse me, continue the use.
Any discussion? No, just so everybody is clear that it does not apply to a true bed and breakfast where someone lives.
Right.
A home, bed and breakfast home, yeah. it doesn't
Yes, I know, but I mean, because with the way it's stated, bed and breakfast inns, it may confuse people thinking it's one of the same, which it's not.
Right.
So just clarification so everybody's aware that they're two separate things there. Okay. If,
Public comments?
I just wanted to make sure, Nancy, I'm on 109 East 3rd, and I just was wanting to make sure that what you just said, that doesn't change, you know, because, you know, person has a guest house, they want to be able to sell it as a guest house, or, as you say, pass it on to family members, and I just don't want to see that changed, and I want to make sure you guys know that that's important to a lot of us that already have big investments in our homes and our properties. So, as long as that stays that way, I'm okay, but, you know,
It's that way.
let's keep it that way. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Nobody up here has no comments, no questions? So this will be in the form of an ordinance then in the future? Everybody's in favor of moving forward, correct?
Correct.
Very good. We'll move forward with it then. presume.
This will do.
All right. That completes the public hearing. Mayor's report. Yeah, it's almost Christmas, it's sharp. The, one thing I do want to remind people that next year the election is in April, filing, Jim and Derek, hopefully they'll refile, but if anybody's interested, it's December 10th through the end of the year. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and short and sweet as usual. City Administrator report.
I'm going to be short too, because we have a couple more reports tonight. I just wanted to touch base with you all again. We had discussed a few months ago, we've been discussing in staff meeting about doing some sort of memorial for Officer Mason Griffith. And maybe celebrate it on, honor it, institute it at the anniversary this year in March. And some ideas that came up were renaming the Riverfront Pavilion in his honor, as well as placing like some sort of permanent marker there as well. Chief is working on that for us. He's getting some details, some sort of possibly bronze plaque on a pedestal or something down there. So I wanted to let you know that's in the works, and if you have any input on that, to let me know. We have our annual employee health screenings Thursday. That is something we do every year to meet a MIRMA requirement. We're actually required to do it every other year, but we have chosen to do it annually just because there are some of our employees who don't go to the doctor any other time during the year, and it's a good opportunity for them to get some blood work done and some basic health checks done. We are also going to be updating new employee IDs. The old machine we had that made IDs was pretty antiquated, and it would like stretch out your face almost unrecognizably, and it didn't look very professional. So we have invested in a little bit better of a machine, and Vera over in Dispatch is going to be helping us with that. By way of reminder to the public, since this is our only board meeting in December, is that business licenses, along with their certificates of no tax due, are due in City Hall on December 31st. Sooner you get those to us, the sooner we can get that processed and have your official license back out to you. So I want to remind people about the lead service line inventory. Our contractor, Schulte Supply, is in town the week of December 16th. So anyone who chose not to use the QR code or to text information to report into them, please call the number on the flyer, or you can get it off the city's Facebook page. They'll want to set up an appointment to come to your home and help you identify the type of pipe coming into your home for your water service, and ask you a couple other questions. I don't know if they'll get all their work completed the week of December 16th, but this is their initial visit. And we have a Transportation Advisory Committee, which you hear us call TAC. It's through MRPC, and I think Jesse's going with me Thursday down to St. James to the annual meeting where we get an opportunity to vote on the prioritization of the projects that will be pushed on to the state level for consideration. The three projects that are being considered for Gaston County are the Highway J intersection, doing some safety improvements there. Here in the city limits, remedying the flooding issues at the Freen Creek Bridge by Highway 19 in 100 West, and then the flooding issues on 100 East by the Bluff. Owensville will be advocating for a new turn lane on Highway 28 into their industrial park. So I think that's all I got tonight.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tourism Director, please.
Good evening, everyone. This is my quarterly report for you. The Visitor Information Center at the Amtrak station, Paulette is working on the business hours listing for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day that we'll distribute through our website and on social media. Paulette trained Sharon on entering events onto free websites, and Lisa has been managing the rec cards for businesses, attractions, and events. We did a promotion with KOMU TV for a Christmas package giveaway to get more email signups for our e-newsletter. We had really good success with it and are likely to do another promotion like it in February. Last week, I attended the Southeast Tourism Society International Showcase in Atlanta, Georgia. I shared a booth with the Jefferson City Convention and Visitors Bureau. We had over 25 speed dating appointments with group tour operators who live in the U.S. or in other countries. This event will be held in Kansas City next year, and we hope to get a FAM tour or familiarization tour after the conference next year to come to Hermann. And obviously, we hope to get lots more international travelers coming to Hermann. We had a booth with our Bike Katie Ride Amtrak partners at the Gateway Outdoor Expo in St. Charles 2 weeks ago. This was a cooperative effort with Warrensburg, Sedalia, Jefferson City, and Washington. Very amazing outdoor event there. Rob and I have been working on several group tour itineraries for 2025. We have more bus tour groups scheduled for 2025 than we did for 2024 at the same time last year. The bus tour industry is coming back strong. Our last bus tour group was this past weekend, last bus tour group for the year. They stayed 2 nights in New Florence and spent all of Saturday and Sunday attending events, visiting attractions, and shopping right here in Hermann. This bus was a result of the bus tour conference I attended in Branson last year, and I believe it was April. I attended another meeting about the city's comprehensive plan, the Chamber's meeting with opportunity funding, the Missouri Travel Alliance board meeting, and the MRPC board meeting via Zoom. Tricia and I also met with Aaron Griesheimer, who is the Economic Development Director for Washington. We held a tourism staff training on Wednesday, November 6th. We toured all of the locations of the Christmas events and toured the Dappleton Hotel. That following Monday was the fire, and our hearts go out to Nick and Brittany, Scott, Ash and Alicia, and everyone affected by the fire. I did an interview with a radio network out of Jefferson City about Christmas time in Hermann. I also did an interview with KOMU Channel 8 about the economic impact of the fire on tourism. I continue to post on Facebook and Instagram with the goal to do more stories and reels. Rob, Jennifer, and I have been working on the 2025 visitor guide. Jennifer has turned in our marketing matching grant FY25 Q1 reimbursement request. She also turned in the FY24 final report. She continues to work with magazines to place our ads and Madden Media for our digital marketing. We have 2 downtown retail businesses going out of business, but I have no doubt that these storefronts will be filled quickly. The new Dollar General will be opening soon, and we look forward to having them as part of our community. I started working with this group, the Dollar General group, late summer of last year, and this is exciting to see this project come to fruition. The Codes Dispensary moved their business out of town, and I've been working to find a new business to go in that location. Christmas events continue the next 2 weekends, so town should still be very, very busy. And thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Work.
The street department has still been sweeping up leaves on warm days as the weather allows them to do so. It's dry enough and warm enough, I imagine. They've also still been picking up some leaves in bags on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's past when they normally quit doing that, but it was kind of a late fall, so they're if you put some bags out, they'll grab them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They pre-treated before that snow with some salt, and they did a really good job with it. Hats off to those guys. They got ahead of it and stayed ahead of it, and the street stayed pretty clear. They'll be taking a load of glass to St. Louis and getting some cold mix asphalt on the way back. They've been using it quite a bit to fill potholes. The water department has removed several disconnected fire hydrants. The sewer department spent the majority of last week at the lagoons clearing brush, removing some trees, and rocking the banks of the lagoons. The parks has been painting picnic tables, trash cans, painting the buildings as the weather allows. That's kind of a hit and miss thing. It's got to be warm enough for the paint. And they're obviously still cleaning leaves when they're present and the weather is good enough. The electric department's been working on services, gathering some lighting info for the mapping system, and we've been using that in the grant application for the street lighting. One thing I wanted to add to that lead service line inventory that Trish was talking about, I've got several calls from people that are worried that this is gonna cost them money, like the people that are coming in the house are gonna find something and they've gotta fix it. That's not the case. This is strictly informational purposes only for the state. They just wanna know where lead is present and where it is not. So it's not gonna cost anybody anything. So if you guys get any calls, pass that along as well.
How's the street department stock inventory for like salt cinders for the winter?
I think we're sitting pretty good. We didn't have to use a lot of it last year. So,
Right.
And Todd's pretty good about staying ahead of that. He gets contracts with Tri-County to haul us salt. So if we get low, they usually take a whole end dump down and get us salt.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah, I do want to thank the crews for on the snowy day. They did do a job. It was good. I
All right.
was going to mention that at the beginning and I forgot. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to public comments. Chris?
I have just recently learned that Hermann has put a ban on side-by-sides in town. I don't understand the reason. I've talked to the city police and they could not give a legitimate reason. The person told me there's nothing wrong with them, but there was no legitimate reason for the ban of side-by-sides in town. Hermann is the only city in Gasconade County and surrounding counties that I've found where there is a ban on side-by-sides. I'm confused. I don't understand.
Well, I think part of the problem with Hermann compared to other cities is we have 2 state highways that go through the middle of town, and you're not allowed to ride them on a state highway. So that,
But you can go all around town and avoid the highways.
no, you got to cross it somewhere.
Yeah, you can cross the highway with side by
But
side.
anyway, I know that played a important part in when we were discussing it, I believe.
Actually, I think that ordinance had been on the book for some time. We just updated it to include vehicles of 4 tires or more.
Okay, my side by side has 4 tires. It's street legal, titled. They all should be titled, registered with the state of Missouri, or they're not legally owned.
You're correct. Your vehicle, you're playing by the rules. I think there was some instances, a lot of instances, people that weren't, and they were just driving side-by-sides in and out of town during busy weekends and just causing traffic chaos.
So we had,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I can personally say that on my shop on First Street on a busy Saturday, not every weekend, but you will see several of those zip through the intersection there, and yeah, they're just they're a nuisance. They're a pain in the rear end, and we have pedestrians everywhere. They're not supposed to be on the state highway anyway, but they are. And I don't know if they're
I don't
people that
understand
are
what
camping.
pedestrian has to do with it. We're
Because
not
they don't stop
driving
at
on
the stop
side-
signs like most people do. The ones that I've witnessed.
Okay,
Not everybody.
Okay.
I can't say that
Yeah.
about everybody. Okay.
they are subject to all the traffic
Supposed to. Yeah.
supposed to. I mean, if they don't, people in cars do the same thing.
You
They
are
race through town,
But
and they ignore the stop signs. You see that all the time.
it was just
But they're subject to person driving a side-by-side is subject to getting a ticket, a traffic ordinance, just like anybody in a car.
right, and I do know the police do write summons on it occasionally. I know that for a fact. But
And as far as the foot traffic, I still don't understand that.
Man,
It's-
we have a lot of foot traffic in our.
I mean, from what I've been told, they're hard to see. I don't understand that. Mine and most of them are as big as a small SUV. You know, if they're hard to see, then the small cars and the motorcycles gotta be way harder to see than the side-by-sides. And they're not banned.
But,
And they're not, side-by-side ain't near as loud as most of these motorcycles that you hear 2 miles away racing through town.
I understand.
I mean, they'll rattle my windows in my house.
But it's an ordinance on the books, and you guys have any comments? Because his time's up, so
How do I get it changed?
it would be up to the Board of Aldermen
Got a
to,
question, you said your 4x4 is titled.
So, yes, it has a title. It
Is
is
it
titled and registered with the state of
licensed?
Missouri.
License plates and the orange flag that stands at least 7 foot above the back of it.
I'm sorry,
Have all the qualifications, having a license plate on it?
it has the orange triangle that Missouri requires. Headlights, taillights, brake lights, mirrors, blinkers.
But no license.
Neither do city vehicles. Your city vehicles don't have license. They just have a blue tag that says City of Hermann. They are not actually licensed.
But governmental
yeah, it's a government
vehicles
agency.
are exempt from that law in
And-
performance of their duties,
And the side-by-side's exempt from that law as well.
not according to state statute, to my knowledge.
Okay.
We'll take that into consideration and
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and voicing your opinion. Like I said, if, at this point, I don't think anybody has any feelings to change it. I mean,
So there's no way to get,
not at this point, no, not that no.
oh, okay.
But we appreciate you
So,
coming.
I mean, the people of Hermann, the people that do enjoy them and people that think they should be allowed, that's just too bad. That's the feeling I'm getting.
Well, all I can say is an ordinance was presented and voted on and approved, and we have to enforce that ordinance. The only way to do that is to change the ordinance, and I don't think anybody up here is in favor of doing that, but, you know, this is where we're at this point.
Okay, so if the people in the city of Hermann, the people that live in the city of Hermann feel like they'd like to change the ordinance, how do I go about getting that done?
What's the legal way for him to do that?
Convince at least 2 aldermen to agree with you and bring it up in a meeting and propose a bill to accept your type of vehicle from the ban. And then they vote on it.
Would you like to see the vehicle? Does that help, or?
No.
We're familiar with the vehicles. It's just when we discussed this, whatever it was, 3 or 4 months back,
Yeah.
we decided that they were being public nuisance.
Yep, pretty much so. So, okay, well, thank you for your time, no, appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to old business. We will discuss the draft of the long-term rental inspection ordinance.
Yes, so this should be ready to go unless you have any other questions, comments, additions, deletions. There's a red line version in here, or blue line as the case may be, that shows the changes that have been made since the original draft, per my notes, from comments that Mike made at a couple of meetings and that you guys made. So that's about all I have, is look it over. If it's okay, we can put it on January's agenda.
Kevin, you mentioned of our phone call earlier about my question.
Sure.
So the 530, 110 there, that big paragraph, the last line in blue that's lined out. I had a concern about the fact that it needed to be lined out because it says, and the exterior of the structure meets all property maintenance codes. Well, we don't have a property maintenance code, yet on Mike's checklist, there is a section about the exterior. So I brought up that concern, make sure that we weren't having any kind of conflict. And so we directed Mike to go back and, well, before I get there, it says, Dave's suggestion was to say, and the exterior meets all applicable codes, because if you look just down further on the page there under 53120B, the definition of code, the code of the ordinances of the city of Hermann, Missouri, including but not limited to the standard international codes adopted by the city. So it's not just our city code book that you're familiar with, it's all of the international codes that we've adopted. So I tasked Mike with going back and looking at all of those codes to make sure that everything he has listed here under exterior could actually be justified. And there's only one he's recommending removal that doesn't show up in those codes, and it's the one about number 7, the maintaining the clean.
But he has listed on his checklist.
Yes, thank you, that's on the checklist. So that is the one that he's recommending deleting. He couldn't find any clear, anything clear in any of the international codes that address that. So that would be my only comment. Did I relate that properly? Clearly?
Anybody have any questions or discussion?
And the actual, I guess checklist, is that what you call it? That wouldn't be included on this, but it's in reference, it's referenced.
Yeah, it just says you shall fill out an application on forms provided by the city, and then the checklist is really the building inspector's tool, you know, or list of things to check. I think anybody who perhaps completes an application would get a copy of the application and maybe the checklist stapled to it or something is what I would do, so that they know what the inspection's looking for.
So if I had a B&B home and want to rent a, if I had a B&B home and I have like maybe 3 stories to my home, and I would want to rent the top one out as a long-term rental, I can do that.
If it's zoned properly, yeah.
So what if it's in R2 now and you're not, and you can't have any more guest houses in R2, but this would be a B&B home, not a guest house, or an inn. It won't be a B&E inn.
But you're talking about long-term.
But if I had part of it, say I had 3 stories, I lived on the bottom floor, the second floor I would rent out as a B&B home. But the 3rd floor, I would say, oh, I'm gonna rent that out permanently, like for years, 2 years or whatever.
My position would be Mike would just go inspect the house, just like as the whole thing was a long-term rental.
But this would not prohibit those
No.
people from doing that. Okay.
Anything else?
Did Mr. Fleece ever, I don't know if I missed one meeting, is his residential occupancy inspection, how close is this to when he inspects buildings for B&B guest houses?
It's a separate thing altogether, so it
The
would
guest
be,
houses are more about safety issues, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide, things like that.
Exits marked.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is not gonna be an annual inspection.
no.
No.
If you have an apartment, they inspect it, and somebody moves in and is there for 6 years, it
Yep.
doesn't get inspected till they move out.
Right. Right.
And how did we say we're going to make this apparent that we're doing this? I guess when they come to For electric, is that what it is?
When they change their utilities,
Okay.
will be the main flag.
And then the turnaround should be relatively quick. I don't want to hold somebody up.
Right, we
you know,
kinda
or-
You hold somebody up from moving in, you mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, Mike said he rarely holds anybody up, so.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want them to find out like the day before they move in and then,
Yeah, right,
you know,
be out on the street,
that could be
Right.
bad.
right.
I guess we could probably send it to some of the bigger renters so that they're aware
The
of it.
landlords, let them be aware of this, well, I'm sure they're aware of what's coming down the pike, I think. but- okay.
I think that's a good idea though.
Anybody else? Anything else?
I think it looks good.
So is everybody in favor of moving forward then?
Yes.
Is to move forward.
We get a new copy of the checklist for the next go over.
All right. Move forward on that. Next. Discussion of space permits and festival regulation. Wayne, where do you want to start? I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because I see where we probably can waste a lot of time on it. You're the one that wants to have this
Right, I
procedure done,
do
so.
have a memo there that I tried to explain some of the issues. And I did have a recommendation to eliminate the festival requirement and space permit requirements. And I would also recommend that we just have a permit for public property and one permit for private property, but excluding any church, school, fraternity, organization, or not-for-profit.
So you're talking about any event. You're talking about garage sales, whatever.
You can, garage sales, I think, are already covered in the sign ordinance.
You, I see issues with, you're gonna require permits for public property and private property. What about commercial property? What about these guys, let's say the wineries?
If it's in their normal business, right now, you do not require them to have a separate permit, correct?
Correct. If it's their normal course of business.
During festivals though,
Oh,
we do.
during festivals we do, yes, but any other time.
So on your memo, number 2,
I'm sorry, let me clarify what I said before we go on. For vendors that they invite to their property during festivals, not necessarily the winery themselves, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So the winery has an event, do they?
Right, if they bring a bunch of vendors in, yeah, that's something to be discussed.
on your memo on number 2, should it say one option to not require a permit for private property? Is that what you mean there?
I think it should be, or one option is to require a permit for private property. And then option 3 is, another option is there's no permit
Yeah.
needed for private property.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So, no, sorry, so let me get this straight. So obviously for public property, it would have to be a permit, but then number 2 would be, there would have to be a permit for private as well. And the only thing that we're doing away with is the church, school, fraternal, and nonprofits?
Right.
Okay. All year round?
Mhm.
I spoke with Chad Walton a little bit, who does the MyFest, and he said that, like in Branson, they do a blanket where, like, an organization would apply for an event, and then they would handle the fees. So the vendors that they're bringing in, they are responsible for collecting the fees.
But the city doesn't charge them,
Correct.
okay? They just pay the fee to wherever they're going to be setting up.
But then
The
yeah,
vendor will pay for the fee wherever they're going to
but
be
the
setting up.
organizer would pay like a larger fee in order to do like the umbrella.
Pay it to the branch,
Yeah.
pay it to the city,
Yeah.
a permit fee or whatever you want to call
Like for the large events, the witches and all of that.
it. You know, have any comments on this side?
Because I thought about this a lot from our last meeting, and it does, I guess we're just, Herman's unique in that we have had these festival weekends, you know, Oktoberfest and My Fest, when in my doing my business, any given weekend is as busy as any weekend in October. So I can kind of see where, you know, Dolores, your line of thinking of kind of clearing up some of this October air, you know, it's kind of like, it's not really necessary. It's not what it used to be. And I know people say, oh, you should have seen it 20 years ago. But I can see the benefit of cleaning up some of the ordinances, especially when they're contradictory. When you have the business fees in one, you know, ordinance, and then in the other one you do have to collect $10 for the vendor space permit. So I can see the benefit of cleaning up the code book when it comes to this. Don't like the idea of letting private property, whether they be residential or commercial, giving them, you know, go ahead, you guys do what you want.
Yeah.
I don't like that idea.
You don't like what now?
Um,
For them to have to fill out an application?
No permit needed for private property.
Oh, okay.
That just opens up a window, I think, that it's an invitation for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to conduct business that shouldn't be conducting business.
Well, I honestly don't know what the space permits do for the city right now. I have no idea. They're issued and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's a waste of time for the city staff to be doing that if there's no need or there's no reason.
Right.
There's nothing to,
The space permits that we issue now, like in October,
and the MyFest.
and on My Fest, those are all on public property, correct?
No, they're every place.
Okay. Well, like, was the VFW count as a non-for-profit? I would
I
assume.
would think so.
So there would be no fee for any vendor to set up on public property.
Right, because, well, unless you require a general business license, because you did away with the itinerant business license that was on the books for years and years and years.
I agree with what Ash is saying, you know, I can see people pulling up in their station wagon and popping out the back end and selling.
In all fairness, 3 years ago, this was a big concern of mine, sitting across the street from the parking lot where, you know, the whole food truck, debate started.
Right.
Is that there were no regulations. Anyone with a grill could just show up on a private property and conduct business, whether they were inspected, paying taxes, you know, all the above. And I was like, that's just why, you know, that's the different set of rules for someone else. And that just didn't sit well with me.
I also think that I'd like to see something added, like a 6 time per year limit, so that they can't just come in and,
I think we have that in the ordinances on garage sales, and don't we have that,
The state law.
or is that state law? Okay.
And we've kind of adopted that as an internal policy, but codifying it might be good.
Right.
because I could see somebody just coming in, if they're able to, every weekend and
Sure.
just
Yeah.
competing with the brick and mortars.
Now, the state law was just for garage sales or any sales?
I think the one I'm familiar with is just for garage sales.
Yeah. Garage sales / yard sale, I believe. I think maybe the best thing for us to do is take this everybody go home, and in January come back with your ideas. You know, if you like this part, don't like this part, and then, so we don't spend an hour here discussing it, and then throw them ideas out and see if we can come to a compromise.
So the biggest thing I think we need to think through, and Corey, maybe we can put somebody on task to go through our whole list of, especially when we would have captured those. So my concern is that before we only ever regulated private property during MyFest and Oktoberfest. So now if we're regulating private property all year round, with the exceptions of churches, fraternal organizations, we're still gonna be capturing a lot of new events. But do we want to? Like the mayor just said, he said like wineries. So this weekend, was it Stonehill's turn for Christmas Market? Okay, they don't have to fill out a special event
Right.
application because it's private property, they can do what they want. But if they, going forward, the way we word it now, are we gonna capture that and have to regulate all the activities that happen on, because they're for profit. So how can we tweak this to capture what we want, but yet not over-regulate people who we don't intend to? You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a lot of square hole round peg kind of situations.
I agree.
And I do have one more question too, and I don't know if, I know I've contacted Corey a handful of times, like outside of office hours, you know, if there's a food truck operating and so, you know, and like, they didn't have any of the required, you know, permits, you know, I've but who is the actual police on, if they have the required permits?
Well, we would send the ordinance enforcement officer to approach them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know that he gets those all checked. Do you know how, like he does during
Food trucks
festivals,
and stuff.
but, I'm sorry?
Like if there was a food truck that came in a day and didn't have anything that they needed to do through the ordinances, and then they disappear, the policing arm isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just about everything else we do, it's a complaint-based system, you know?
And I know code enforcement officer, he's not gonna stay on abreast with every single event. It's an interesting, we're unique with the festivals times and,
Well, if you call it on a private property as a festival, you can really spell out what a festival is going to be.
I
If
didn't
you're-
understand.
If you're going to have a application for private property, you could really spell out what special, if it's for a special event, if that's what we're gonna call it, you could really spell out, which I think you do right now, you could spell out what entails as a special event.
Yeah, we have to.
You could
That'd be very
critique
detailed
that
about it.
some way.
Dolores, would you be in favor of getting rid of the festival times on
Yes,
the calendar?
If they fill out the application, the dates on there is gonna indicate during the Oktoberfest or the MyFest. So we would know from the application when they were,
why would that make any difference if you're
what
gonna,
we was talking about, specify a festival event, what they put down the third weekend.
why are we specifying a festival event?
I think Doris's proposal is
I'm
to
trying
not
to
make October,
eliminate.
May different than any other month.
Okay, I just thought you would say if they specified it on the application as a festival event. I heard you wrong.
No, that's okay, I may have not been clear in trying to.
One hearing aid was more.
Anybody else have any other?
But that would kind of be my challenge to all of us, is to really think through all the events that happen in the city that we'd be capturing, and how then we could tweak a definition to exclude the type of things that we don't want to and
Right.
don't really intend to. Because there's, yeah, flea market, I don't know if that, We've been talking about different flea markets here and
Yeah,
there. That,
Like the parking lot across from you, what if he decides just to go ahead and do a flea market? Doesn't have to be food trucks.
Yeah, it could be anything, private
Yeah.
property, it could be any sort of,
Anyway, I just think that what we should do is go home, each one of you write down your ideas of the way you think it should go, and then throw it back out there in January and see if we can come to some agreement on, you know.
because I also don't want the city policing every single activity that happens in the city of Hermann.
Well,
It's just unrealistic.
But in theory, we should be receiving sales tax from all these businesses. that
In
are
theory,
coming,
exactly.
When we're not.
Are you
So,
Only the brick and mortars do.
exactly. So, I think having some skin in the game isn't the worst thing.
well, that's what I say, you know, everybody has an idea or suggestion, let's put it on paper and throw it
But
out.
you don't get any sales tax from any of these people right now that are operating.
I know we don't, but he's
I
saying
mean, do we know we don't? I mean, they're supposed to, on the honor system, they're supposed to fill out,
Yeah.
turn in their sales tax for when they're in town. So I don't know that we don't know that they're not paying.
well, that's true, because you don't see that.
Any vendor isn't collecting any sales tax.
Well, I
When
mean,
we
they
did-
still have to
when-
pay
when I
it.
used to do
and
the
it'd be
antique shows, when-
part of their price, and they still are supposed to pay in sales tax.
Well, that was different because then they had to buy a license, an itinerant business license. In order to get that license, they had to have a sales tax number.
You are
You
correct.
fill it out, and all of that information went to the state. But you
are
don't
correct on
do that anymore.
So, okay, let's do it that way.
We got Christmas homework.
Yeah, Christmas one. New Year's, done that.
Nah,
Worry about it after.
procrastinators.
All right. Let's move on to ordinance.
All right, so the first, or the ordinance or bill that's on for first reading is 2024-57. It would be an ordinance to amend Hermann Municipal Code Section 125, as written, 060A6, to require the Board of Aldermen approval of certain contract change orders. There's a typo there, it should be 125-070A6, so I'll note that myself. But, go ahead.
Sorry. This was housekeeping we discussed last meeting, correct? That we need to have it on the books for change orders and things like that.
You know, there's one thing that I think we need to change, and it makes its presence here. You know, we have a $5,000 limit that we can spend without, you know, going to the board and so forth. I think that was made probably 25, 30 years ago, that limit. Times have changed, just the cost of everything today. I think we need to increase that limit to a $10,000 in office where some of these decisions can be made without contacting the board. Hey, we got this issue, you know, it's $5,800, do you think it's okay? You know, and everybody's got to vote on it. I just think it's time that we increase that to $10,000. I mean, just the electric department, you know, one little
Well, we have,
conduit thing, all of a sudden, it used to be $700, now $7,000.
well, we have on the motions to ratify
Our old
the
water.
bucket truck.
I've
That
got
was,
all the wire on here. I can't buy her all the wire. Like, it's, I've actually, it's ironic you're bringing this up, because I literally drafted an email today to send to you guys on this, because I was going over the agenda, and I was like, this is so ridiculous. So, I figured the inflation just from when I started here, and it's like $8,300 or $8,400 is what $5,000 was when I started here. And it's been this way ever since. I had to send a guy over to SC Electric the other day to get some connectors. The connectors were more than he can actually spend, and you can fit all four of them in your hand. You know, so I'm really glad to see this getting brought up. That means I don't.
Well, I just, reading that just, I think it's time for us to make a change. I mean, you know, I don't know how you all feel about it, but,
I agree with, so there's obviously the 5,000, but then there's a $1,000 number as well.
Yeah, so the superintendents used to be allowed to spend up to $1,000. So like the electric superintendent, water superintendent, so the employees could spend $100, superintendent's $1,000, and then the city administrator could approve up to $5,000. And that kind of got extended to public works when Mark was doing both roles. But like I say, you can't buy anything for that anymore. I mean, it's Darren can't order a single fire hydrant. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Right.
Uh,
So how do y'all feel about that?
I would be very much in favor of increasing the dollar amount. But I can't think of really any situation, and since I've been an alderman, that if one of the supervisors asked for a repair or purchase, or that we've said no.
Oh, I understand that, but this eliminates that hassle of having to go through that.
So part of the issue is timing, right? So like this roll of wire that I've got on here tonight, they quoted me that price, but the commodities markets are so crazy right now, they're not, like there's no guarantee past the day I get that quote.
Yeah.
Now, the other company gave me a 30-day quote. So like I told you guys in the email, if this quote has changed for this particular wire with the better warranty, I'll go to the second quote, because I think it'll be good through tomorrow. But on some of this stuff where it's just regular inventory, stuff that we use all the time, you know, if I burn through all my wire and, you know, whether it's somebody messed up and we didn't realize how low we were, or all of a sudden something big happens, we have, you know, like a few years ago, we had the Freen Drive burned up underground. You know, you can burn through 1,000 foot of cable really quick.
Now, can I ask this, when you're dealing with vendors, they know you're in public works.
Correct.
They know that you're using public monies.
Correct.
I mean, they have to know a little bit that your hands are tied to, you know, to a certain extent.
And like, we're not, you're the only city they call on, right? Like, so this is a problem that every community deals with, because we are slower to move than, like, say, an IOU or a co-op. They've got a little bit longer leash that they can get things done. So most of these guys will give us 30-day quotes, but like transformers, I mean, you guys, a few of you anyway, have seen it. You know, like I'm gonna order a transformer, hopefully after you guys make this approval tonight. When that transformer's built, they may call me and say, yeah, you can have it, but it's gonna be an extra $2,000.
Right?
And there's nothing you can do. I mean, you other than tell them we don't want it.
You need it.
Right. So the market in this stuff with utilities right now is just, it's wild. I mean, there's no real bid. You know, it's you get a 30-day and it is what it is.
So raising these would also probably save you some shipping costs too as well.
It would save us freight, it would, I mean, time, you know, because I gotta write a rec letter for every roll of wires, and that doesn't seem like a lot.
No, it is.
You know, just the day-to-day stuff that you can't get, you know. You know, we priced valves for this ARPA purchase, and if we needed some valves, I mean, it doesn't take very many valves to get out of $5,000 really quick, you know. And that's not to say that, you know, we don't need oversight, we shouldn't be, you know, buying a set amount, but I think, like I say, $5,000, I don't know when that went into effect. Like I say, I know it's been 20 years for sure. I'd say it's been a long time, you know, and $5,000 isn't what it was back then, you know.
Well, I think you said a key word there, oversight. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to give up, you know, complete, oh, you know, you guys know what's best.
Absolutely.
Here's the wallet.
No, I don't either, but I just think that it needs to be increased, at least till 10.
Can city administrator weigh in?
I concur. For all the same reasons. Yeah, and if we're gonna double that one, does it make sense to double the department heads to 2,000 as well?
Yep.
From 1 to 2?
As far as I'm concerned.
And please do the employees also. Because I think there are 100, like I say, which 100 wouldn't have got Travis the 4 connectors, but, You know, and I mean, we've been pretty fortunate. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever got slapped on the hand over it. You know, like Travis goes over and signs a ticket for $300. He's not really supposed to, but, you know, and he did it with me telling him to do it. But by the book, I mean, he's not really
Well,
supposed to.
and the other thing is if you guys are doing a job and they're here and you have to approve, you're saving the city money by taking care of the situation then instead of letting them go all the way back to Fenton or wherever they're at. They're gonna charge you to come back. It's gonna cost you more in the long run. So, I mean, making a snap decision sometimes is the right thing
A lot
to
of this
do.
stuff, like I say, a lot of this stuff, because we don't keep a whole lot of inventory, right? Like, I don't have a yard that has 20,000 feet of number 2 cable. You know, I try to keep one reel, you know, and change on hand. But like I say, one reel is 2,500 foot of cable. You know, that sounds like a lot. You figure like a 3-phase system or something, you burn up 2,500 feet real quick. So if I need it, I may not always have 2 weeks to wait, you know,
Right.
or whatever the situation is. And I mean, I guess, like I say, everybody's been pretty easy to work with over the years when we've had issues, but it would still be nice to get things kind of caught up with the times.
Okay.
But the $100 for employees is not in this ordinance,
Okay,
so it must be
that might have
your
just,
personnel policy or
yeah, that might
something.
have just been a personnel policy thing. I just remember being told $100.
Was that agreeable to everyone, so we'll change that in the ordinance? Anybody not in favor of it?
Actually, I'll make a motion to approve bill number 2024-57 with the change just mentioned to increase to 10,000 and 2,000.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
I do have a question. Does everyone understand the red line that Dave put in here? The, what it means about a change order? Or does that have to be clarified a little more?
Because nothing referred to this in the code book as it currently sits, correct?
Correct.
So I'm good with putting it in.
Unless you want to say that every change order is kind of like a new contract and so, but this is just a clarification, I think, more than anything else.
So that means if you have a contract for $100,000 and it goes over 20,000 or 50,000, the 50,000, since the original contract was brought before the Board of Aldermen for 100,000, the change order should come before the Board of Aldermen for the 50,000. And if it's that substantial change, I would think there should be enough time, since we have 2 meetings in a month, to approve it. I mean, that's my feeling.
It depends on the situation, I would think, of what that money's going for. I mean, if it's a project that, you know, I mean,
Well, if it's $50,000 and Jesse needs it tomorrow, and he found out today, he could send everybody an
That's
email
right.
the way he normally does.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
that, it says it in here that you can do that.
Yeah, that'd be my only concern is that if we have
right.
something pop up, you know, we've got a way to do that. And I mean, like I say, with the streets, I'd like to be able to continue with that flexibility if we can. You know, try to maximize our budget if we're under on our quotes or whatever at the time, if the board's willing to go over on them.
If you let us know,
Correct, yeah. If it's a deal that we've all discussed and everybody kind of knows what's going on and it's been voted on that we're, you know, we've got it in the budget, you know, that sort of
well,
thing.
your budget doesn't, your budget's only a tool. If you approve a contract or a bid for a certain amount, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that it's all okay.
That's what I'm saying. If we send an email to everybody saying, you know, we got this job done, and I mean, if you guys don't want to do it, that's fine. It's your guys', I guess, thing to do, whether you want to, maximize the value of the money or not. But if we've got $350,000 on this contract, and we've got $400,000 that we've put aside for asphalt, and the asphalt company's right on where we're supposed to be, we've got the extra $50,000 in the budget, and I email you guys and say, hey, we've got $50,000, these guys have another week left on their books, they can put more asphalt down, do we want to do that?
For this project or that project or
Correct.
whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we'd be wise to do that personally, but like I say, it's your guys' choice.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that it's all approved.
Right.
Yeah, and we've always gotten the change orders approved by the Board of Aldermen. Sometimes we had to do the email first. There's just been that snafu with MoSeal, and our engineer made an in-the-field decision to save us some money. And so I think that's maybe where this is originating from, is that he didn't really,
Okay.
yeah, we didn't get proper approval for that. Like we didn't get the email out to you, I guess, is what it comes down to. But yeah, we know that we have to get change orders approved, and we always do. Dave had thought that motions were good enough to approve them by motions, the last several years. So unless you guys want to start doing it more formally with an ordinance, but we've been doing them by motions. And yeah, we've got Travis. We told him he's on a little bit short of a leash, so he knows not to do that independently again.
Okay.
I think the email voting is it works.
Yeah.
As long as it gets,
That way
as
you
long as
got-
it gets
And you
brought
got
up.
a record of it, so it's good. Okay, let's move on to resolutions.
The resolution on for this evening is number 1348, a resolution to ratify an application for recertification for the Tree City USA designation.
Any questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve resolution?
I'll approve resolution 1348.
Motion has been made, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. We will move on to motions. Do I have a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting?
I moved to approve the November 25th, 2024 minutes as presented.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made in a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Invoices for payment. Have a motion to pay the bills.
I move we pay the bills.
Motion has been made, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Approve the destruction of the Hermann Police Department prosecuting records in accordance with the state retention law.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Ratify repair of the bucket truck from Mizook for $7,500. This was an unexpected repair. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion's made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Approve the bid from Brownstone Electric Supply for electrical cable for $8,325. Do I have a motion to approve the cable?
Move to approve.
Motion's made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Approve low bid of $216,987.95 from Water and Sewer Incorporated for ARPA water materials.
Yeah, so you all had made that decision prior to spend our remaining ARPA funds on these water supplies. And so we have to have the funds obligated before the end of December, so that is what this process is for.
And we have enough room for all of this?
Yeah, so there's room underneath the lean-to for the piping, and if you look through those quotes, there's an inordinate amount of valves. And the reason for that is because valves don't take up room, but they cost a whole lot of money. So we'll need them down the road. We've got enough pipe to do 4 blocks of water lines, and then we've got plenty of valves, and that was, if I remember right, that was also 5 new hydrants. And like I say, we've got enough valves to do several blocks more than that. Just, like I say, it's an easy way to put a lot of money in a little bit of space, so.
And the ARPA funds are only $204,151, so the balance is just gonna come out of wastewater? I mean, water?
So we talked about that, well, we're not even sure, we were gonna talk about actually reducing a couple items to get it a little bit closer to.
Yeah,
But
we can- like I
would you
said,
wanna
we
do
can-
that?
we
Would you
can-
wanna lose?
We could, well, they won't penalize us for doing that, but like we could get, depending on what our budget looks like at the time we place the order, because we've ordered some other stuff here in the last, I don't know, few weeks anyway. We can reduce the number down closer to our ARPA funds if we need to. So, you know, basically maximize our funds and minimize the impact on our actual budget.
And the fire hydrants only cost $2,924, is that right?
See, only, that seems like a lot to me for a big steel post.
The valve is 1,300.
Some
Yeah.
other ones were 5,000, but I looked at, so.
All three of the quotes are actually mind-bogglingly close.
Yeah.
They're usually like way out in left field, but they're all right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, usually you get at least one that's like crazy, like they were trying to make some money.
Well, you didn't want your business.
They just
Yeah.
don't, I think they don't wanna do it.
Yeah.
So water and sewers, the one I think, the way Jason and Darren talked, that's the one we deal with the most anyway, so, Co was right there, or I always want to say Co, Quarter Main was right there too. But like I say, if we need to, we ordered a bunch of fire hydrants with budgeted money this year, so if we need to get that closer to the ARPA number, we'll probably drop hydrants off of it. And then we'll have the additional hydrants that we've already ordered.
Okay. January 2025 liquor license renewals. You have the
Were
list.
we gonna vote on this, or did we?
Didn't I vote?
I don't think we voted yet, I think we just, we'll talk.
Sorry.
So much
You
discussion.
jabber draw away, I just lost control. All right, let's go backwards. Do I have a motion to approve that bid?
I moved to approve the bid.
Thank you. I have a motion, now second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay, now I'll move on. January 2025 liquor license renewals. Do I have a motion to approve all the liquor license renewals?
Make a motion to approve all listed.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
That's sustained. We're good. We have no reports. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for watching and those being here, and have a Merry Christmas. See you next year.
And don't forget your Christmas homework.
Yeah, don't forget your homework.
What's that?